I'm Jamie.
I'm Garrick.
Garrick, and we're here to go through every HTTP status code that exists. This is awesome. So first, just quick introductions. Wow, that pink is really rough on the projector, isn't it? I'm Jamie Thingelstad. I'm a technologist. I'm CTO for a local startup called EighthBridge. I kind of live, eat, and breathe tech and the web. And Garrick?
I'm Garrick from Buren. Many of you were in my last session. I didn't even have such a nice slide. That's okay. I help people build websites and stuff, mainly companies. I built a font server a couple years ago, and so I did a lot of investigation into HTTP status codes as to like what's an appropriate response. Since I'm building a server from scratch, I should know these things.
And we're both love to present on MinneBar, and we're both community supporters as well.
We are. You should be one too. It's fun.
So today's talk really originated with the SOPA Blackout. Everybody here knows about the SOPA Blackout, right? How many people participated? Good. Applause. Nicely done. And how many people looked into the HTTP status code that you returned? Yes, one. So it turns out that it's actually a lot harder to protest online than you would think. You have to actually care about your status code. What a lot of people did was they returned a 200, which for those of you that don't know, we're going to talk about these in this session. That's a terrible idea because it essentially says that that is your website, that your website is the protest. And actually some fairly smart, prominent people did this, like scripting.com, Dave Weiner.
Yeah.
Dave Weiner returned a 200. I think he also did it with JavaScript, too, or something really ridiculous. You could have returned a 404, but that was also a really bad idea, because then Google and all these other great places thought that you didn't know what you were anymore, and you couldn't find yourself. But in fact, it turns out there's a brilliant status code already existing for something like this, 503. 503. Ring the bell. And so that's what that is. So, Garrick?
Yes. So each of these, there's 5, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Each of them are for specific reasons. So that's kind of a framework you can think of them in common reasons. The first one is just informational. You know, like you would ask the librarian, where is the restroom? Success is I found the restroom. Everything is okay. 3 is redirection. You might be familiar with things like Bitly and T.co and those places that are URL redirects. Client error. Something bad happened on my end. And the last one, server error. Something bad happened on that end. So
are you the client and I'm the server? We didn't even think about that. That'd be great, though. We could act out status codes. Wait till you see 419 conflict.
So keep in mind these larger contexts, because without that larger context, some of these make no sense at all.
And part of what we wanted to do today was that we really thought, as we looked at like the 503 for the SOPA Blackout, it hit me like, whoa, wait a second. There's probably all these HTTP status codes that we should be returning in our code. I mean, how many people have ever written an API? Well, some of you. The rest of you don't want to admit it. But I can tell you that your API should not only return 200, right? It should return a variety of different things. And several people have dealt with 301 and 302, and what are those? So let's look at all of them.
It can save on bandwidth as well.
Absolutely.
Here's the header. Something bad happened. Great.
Garrick.
Move along. Everything's fine here.
This
100, 100 continue means the server has received it, the request. The client should proceed and send the body. So everything's normal. Everything's fine. Keep moving.
Move along.
Move along.
So 101, not every one of these has a witty picture, because some of them are not very witty. 101 switching protocols is the request to switch from something like HTTP to HTTPS. So if you're telling a server, if the client is requesting that kind of switch, the server can respond with a 101 saying that it acknowledges it, and it will now do so. Oh, one of the wonderful WebDev ones.
Anyone use WebDev a lot?
HTTP does.
Yeah, everybody else does. The WebDev request may contain sub-requests, and it may take a while. So here's a nice hourglass for your time. Thank you.
There's only 3 status codes in 100. 200 switches into everything is okay. This is the status code that you generate, I don't know, 17,000 billion times every single day on the internet.
99%.
It's all good. We're happy. You're okay. We're okay. We're all okay.
201 created. The request has been filled, and a new resource is being created. I present you Noonie. She is the first clone Pashmina's goat.
201.
201. Created. Noonie.
202 accepted means that I have taken your request and will get back to you at some point. You'll wait.
203, non-authoritative information. Your request isn't processed. The information might be from another source.
Who knows who that is?
Fantastic.
Jason Blair.
Plagiarism.
You win a prize.
Your own status. They all can contain bodies. I suppose if that was the okay response, like, okay, the rest of them do? Oh, okay. Okay. I think of them in triplets, with the body being an optional part of that triplet. It might be unnecessary.
Yep.
Your request isn't processed. It's decided not to return any content. I present you Rauschenberg's erased de Kooning drawing.
Garrick did all the highbrow slides. 206 parcel content is the response that you'll get when you are requesting only part of a monkey, not the entire monkey. This is for byte range requests and to receive just partial things. Oh, enjoy.
You got a lot of stuff. Sort with it yourself.
I don't know when you would ever use this in your own thing. You could. Good question. Should try.
Excellent question. Hey, Jamie, can you explain WebDev? I only know it as like a...
So how many people know what WebDev is? So WebDev is a series of extensions, a lot of them, to HTTP that essentially allows HTTP to become read-write. So you could put your Microsoft Word document on a web server and hit save, and WebDev takes care of that.
If you do in your OS, you can do like a connect to server or mount a server volume that's on the network as a disk. Yeah. That's behaving like WebDev. Yeah.
And WebDev actually originally, I would say, was really messy. It's gotten a little bit better. Not all web servers do a great job of supporting it. Like Nginx still doesn't support all of WebDev. It only supports a subset of WebDev. And some products use it really well, like OmniFocus uses it to sync all of its stuff between things. But this status code, 208, is part of WebDev's message saying, I've already told you this. Why are you asking me again? Go away.
The server is fulfilled a GET request from the resource, and the resource is a representation of the result of one or more instance manipulations applied to the current instance.
Yes, makes total sense, doesn't it?
I'm used.
All right, those are all of the successful requests. So that means everything worked really, really well, and we're now going to jump to redirection. So one of the redirection requests is 300 multiple choice. It just tells the client that you can have this in a lot of different ways. Which one would you like? I've never actually seen this used in the wild, but you could imagine it being used for media formats to be able to support multiple different encoding types for one given asset.
It also reminded me of our Rails problem I bumped into long ago and far away, where you could say, the Rails server could say, what representation of this do you want? Do you want HTML, XML, JSON? What do you want? And most browsers would be really, would select appropriately, i.e. would select the first one.
Fill out A in every one. Because not all of the statuses are standard. It's actually one of the things that I found interesting while we were researching this topic. You'll actually see some very special ones later in the 400s and 500s. Some of them are just draft specification. Draft specification won't appear in W3C unless you look specifically at their drafts. Others have just been adopted by industry and then become de facto standards. And there are several of the de facto standards which are not recognized but are totally used all the time. At the end, we have we actually have some links at the end of the slides, but the Wikipedia page is, I think, really good, and then the Flickr Status Cats group.
That's HTTP Status Cats.
Yeah. Yeah. For everyone.
Yeah. We've probably seen this one a lot. 301 permanently moved. The URL is now over here. You'll do this if you're moving a whole domain or restructuring URL paths within that domain.
If you're a web developer that runs a website, you've probably used this one. Mm-hmm. 302 found is different than move permanently because it means that it's moved there, but only for right now. So always come back to me and ask again in the future because I may tell you it's someplace else. This is really useful if you're Bitly or some URL shortening service. It's also really useful if you want to drop just a crazy amount of cookies on people's browsers and track them all over the world. 302 is what is happening when you click on something and you'll notice your status, like your location bar change. You're getting 302, 302, 302, 302. And every time that's an opportunity to do something. Interestingly enough, 302 is implemented wrong in almost every web browser in the world. 302 behaves like 303, which is see other. So see other is what really 302 is supposed to be. The difference between these is fairly minute. The main one is that 303 specifies a get method, whereas 302 is not specific. So there you go. But that's an example where the RFC says something and every browser implemented it differently.
304, not modified. You've probably seen this a lot too. It helps with caching and performance and those sorts of things. And also it's a wonderful song from the Motels called Some Things Never Change.
304 is a really important one that you need to make sure that you configure right or you do waste a lot of money on people's time.
Yeah.
The 305 use proxy is one that is in the spec and no browser will accept it. So 305 was supposed to be a method that said, don't talk to me directly, instead use this proxy. And that was what happened when a bunch of people in universities thought of it, and then people that weren't quite so pure of heart said, oh, that'd be awesome. Because you could route everything through me, and I could just capture everything. So no browsers will accept 305. If you tell them to use 305, they will just disregard it and continue on their merry way,
yes.
which is also true of 306. So 306 was supposed to be something very similar. Is, hey, you're using a proxy, now use this proxy, and which also, of course, has the same kind of nefarious uses. Was there a question? On the 305? On the 304.
Right.
So if you don't send out a not modified header, you're going to cause people to re-download the content all the time. And so as long as you send out your expires headers properly, and then when they come and ask, they're going to ask for the status of the file, they'll get a 304, it has not been modified since this time. And then they don't re-download it.
Which will then, on the client side, load whatever the client has in cache instead of re-downloading the whole thing. Temporary redirect is 302, but works with post. So you could pass along a form submission, whereas the 302 was specific to get, or 303 was specific to get. I forgot. 308 similar. It will always be over here in the future. Feel free to continue to pass in your form submissions into that.
These two surprised me because I had no idea they even existed. I had no idea that there was a 307 and a 308. And arguably, I don't know why you would use 301 and 302.
Yeah.
They work, I guess, so there's no reason not to, but these would be
much more flexible.
Yeah, superior redirects.
Yes.
Well, the proxy would actually tell your browser to tunnel all of its requests through another server. All future requests. Yes. Yep. But the proxy one won't honor it anyways. 400. So 400 starts the errors, specifically the client errors. You should probably start this since you're the client.
Full of errors.
Full of errors.
Request cannot be fulfilled due to bad syntax. I don't know what you just said to me. I'm not going to fulfill your request. Yeah.
401 unauthorized is a request that specifically says that you have to give authentication and you didn't, so go away. Probably a better response code to use if you're writing an API that requires authentication than something like 500 or some other type of error message. This would be the right one to use.
402 payment required. Now, this is the, so when I was running the current font server and the rack font server, this is the one, this is the status that it would spit back for somebody who requested a paid font but hadn't paid for it. So I would spit back this in an empty body in most cases. What I think is interesting is it's actually in the spec it says
in the spec
reserved for future use.
It's almost as if the W3C is admitting that nobody knows how to make money on the internet. At some point in the future,
we will have money and we'll need a way to
you're going to need to pay for it.
Give me money. What should it be? 403. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
403 forbidden. The request was an actual request, but we're not going to respond to you. Sorry about that. That's a good question.
It could be a response to a directive that the server has given. So the server telling you to do something that then the client says, no, 403, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
403.
So the one everybody knows is 404. I mean, there's websites dedicated to 404. 404 is what happens if you go to for Schnizzle on this website. You get a whole nother deck. How awesome. You get a whole presentation on page not found. There is no page here. Where'd it go? I have no idea. May have never existed. Maybe you want to go back to main slides. Okay.
Four or five method not allowed. The request was made, and we don't, but that's not supported by the resource. Again, some of these,
We're not good enough comedians.
We're not geek enough. We can't find an appropriate picture. We must not know what it's saying.
So 406 not acceptable. Essentially, you're giving me accept headers, and the content that I'm giving you can't be represented in any way that your accept headers suggest you can accept. So it's hence not acceptable.
Seriously, sign in. Come on.
408, request timeout. Picture is self-explanatory. You're really, really, really busy. It's a good question, right? Because it should be 5 something, right? Its server is super, super busy. But it is actually in the spec. It actually does say the server timed out waiting for the request.
So that may mean that the client is too slow. Yeah.
Yes. So you could see this if you just connected to port 80, did HTTP, just sat there, right? At some point, you're going to go away.
409, conflict. Indicates that a request cannot be processed because there's a conflict, such as an edit conflict.
Or a round kick. You see what his leg's doing? It's really weird.
There's a fight going on.
I don't know how you do that. This is the one that we're supposed to act out.
410, gone.
In all seriousness, this is actually a really important status code. If you take your website offline, don't return a 404. 404 means you lost. I don't know where the thing is. 410 means go away.
I deliberately took this down.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore.
I think it even says in the spec, delete all references to this in your index. Do not come back. We won't be here.
And when Google or any other search engine spider sees 410 gone, it will actually remove it from the search index and no longer send results. And particularly as the web ages, with all of us aging, this will become important. Now that assumes there is another resource.
That assumes you want people to remember what you just did and pass it along. Think of Mark Pilgrim, took everything 410.
Mm-hmm.
Said, no, don't come back.
The 411 link required is a message that essentially just says that you sent a request that in HTTP 1.1 using continuation requires a link. You didn't give it to me, so I can't respond to that. I can't process that.
412, precondition failed. The server does not mean one of the preconditions that you put in the request or put in the request. Yeah, see, again, I couldn't find a picture for this.
413, request entity is too large. That essentially just means that you're trying to send some stuff to me that's just far too big. 413 would specifically be in the body of the request. So you did speak to me properly, but then you started just sending way, way, way too much stuff. Oh, I want this one. 414, request URI is too long. URIs cannot be infinitely long. You'll note your request is now too long. Believe it or not, everything before that is completely valid by the spec. So it really makes one wonder why we need URL shorteners. On my mobile, it would be a lot.
Unsupported media type. So, for example, you were trying to watch a WMV on a Mac or something. Something crazy like that. Yeah.
Or an H.264 file on Firefox.
Right.
Requested range is not satisfiable. So we looked at the monkey, the partial monkey. So if I asked for the monkey but not on the monkey, I couldn't get a monkey back. Totally makes sense, doesn't it? If you have a 1 meg file, you ask for the 2 meg portion, you get a 416. Huh. I want
to not meet the requirements that you requested of it. I'm so sorry.
It really does make me feel bad. If you set an expect header, you might get a 417. This might be a good one for relationship counseling, honestly. Marriage counseling. Oh, 418 is one of my favorites. Do people know the Serbian 418? All right. I know. No. So the IETF actually does, they're very well known for doing April Fool's jokes. And on April Fool's, one year they announced the addition of HTTP 418, I'm a Teapot. It was intended to be a joke. I think everybody understood it to be a joke. It's now an official status. So Nginx will actually return a 418. I don't know why or when, but it will. And I think it's great because I don't know, do people know the OpenGL Teapot? So the OpenGL Teapot is like the epitomal, the prototypical Teapot. So it seems appropriate. I wanted this to be a WebGL Teapot that we could fling around, but that got to be too hard.
I think the lesson here is be careful what you joke about.
Yes, it may become a standard. You want to take the first half?
420, enhance your calm. This is Twitter's rate limiting status. So you have been way too aggressive in checking your Twitter feed via API. It will send you a enhance your calm, dude.
This is literally, and this is theirs. And what's weird is there's actually a status code for rate limiting.
Yeah.
There is, and I don't know why. There's theories why Twitter decided to do that. Wow, there's more people that get this joke than I thought. I had to look this up. So it turns out that there is a, why is that? Huh. So there's actually a reference in the 70s. There was a group in Northern California that got together and smoked pot at 4:20 in the afternoon by a statue in this one town. And then that got picked up by like Cannabis Culture magazine and became a token of cannabis culture that you would have a 420. And I don't know which begat which. And the suggestion is that, the very real suggestion is that that's why it's 420 for enhance your calm is, come on, seriously, just chill. Back to WebDev.
Yeah, WebDev. You're never going to use these.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Something bad happened.
So if you say that I only respond to the JSON, you make an HTML request for it, it'll return a
Huh.
Oh.
I don't know if that seems appropriate, but
Brilliant.
yes. So that's what this is about. Like, are these appropriate responses for these requests? Excellent.
423 locked makes sense because WebDev is kind of a file system, so you can lock a file, you can check it out, blah, blah, blah. So 423 just lets you know that the thing that you're trying to deal with has been locked. You can't have it. Should put that woman smoking the joint here. This is all about a previous request, though. So it essentially says that the thing that you're requesting or the thing that you want to do required you to do something before. So maybe before you can actually write the file, you need to lock it. So do it in the right order. Wow, did we have nothing on that one?
We have nothing. Like,
Let's skip that one. Doesn't matter.
upgrade required 426, and you were saying.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So TLS is the actual the mechanics of how the SSL handshake works on HTTPS, and so this is actually what can be used to move from TLS 1.0 to TLS 1.1. And the client can specify that because the client may require TLS 1.1 because TLS 1.0, for example, is broken, which it is. This also turns out to be the weird way that Google figured out how to shoehorn Speedy in the HTTP. How many people are familiar with Speedy? So Speedy works by renegotiating TLS, and once it renegotiates TLS, it essentially says like, oh, well, why we're doing that? Why don't we just switch everything and do it all different? And so that's how that happens over HTTPS without introducing a brand new protocol. One of the things that's interesting, particularly in the 400s and the 500s, is that you can see that HTTP was designed to have a lot of future versions and protocols, even though we haven't really used that. HTTP 2.0 will probably be the first. There's 1.0 and 1.1, but 2.0 will be the first major change that introduces a lot of new stuff. This one. Can I? So
if you'd like.
Garrick and I read this one so many times, I have no idea. Like, there should be a prize at the end of this to say, I mean, just seriously, that's clients get requested resources state, modifies it, and puts it back to the server, when meanwhile, third party has modified the state on the server, leading to a conflict. Precondition required. That's who's on first. I don't know. That's essentially what's happening, right? The server is saying, I don't know what's going on. It's not specifically a WebDev one, but because I did actually put WebDev on all the WebDev ones. I guess you could have a combination of puts and gets that cause that to happen.
421. Just too many requests. Get off the train.
That's a lot of people on the train, isn't it? Metro Transit should take a look at that.
Different than 420? I believe 420 specifically, dude, enhance your calm. And this is, everybody chill out.
Chill the F out.
Right,
yes,
that's
yes.
the other thing.
Nobody else uses 420.
Your request was syntactically correct, but we don't like it, no soup for you.
The headers are too large. This is a great one. Go ahead.
Interesting, no? 449, retry with, I don't know, say something Microsoft.
Say like a web browser made by a company in Washington, Yeah, this is specifically for Microsoft.
So maybe you guys remember like best with IE. They actually put it in the status code. Best with IE.
That is awesome.
An example of the status cat as well. Status cat. Yeah.
499 is one that is specifically from Nginx. Essentially, it lets you know that the client went away. And it specifically actually means that the client went away before he processed the header. So it doesn't just mean he went away, but it means he went away before he even started talking about the header block. That would, I'm not sure if that would show up in the server logs. I would imagine that's where it would appear. All right, and then
server errors. All right,
whoa,
we got to
go fast.
Yeah. We've got what, 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the internal server error 500. This is the one that can make your day at the office really, really bad. Be nice to your sysadmins. It's the only way to make this error not happen. Just means something bad happened and we have no idea what it is.
501, not implemented. We don't recognize what you gave us. We lack the ability to understand this equation.
Does anybody know what that is? No.
No. We all got 50.
502 bad gateway is a specific request that says that your gateway, it's used for when you're proxying requests through your HTTP server. You get really weird things when you query this on Google Images, like this. Stop 502 bad gateway. Everyone hates it, even mom. I don't know.
We'll be right back.
We're protesting.
They're on break right now. They'll be right back.
504 gateway timeout. This is what you get. You see this one from a lot of people that are using fast CGI proxies. Like if you use Nginx to proxy to PHP, you'll get this if PHP is not responding in the time that Nginx wants it to respond. So this you actually do see a decent amount of times. It usually means your server's busy. And so this is one, like I was commenting earlier about there's only 2 versions of HTTP. HTTP 1.0, total garbage. So you'll get this if you said get HTTP/47. Like, I don't know what that is.
We found some sort of circular reference within this request. We don't know how to resolve it. 506.
507, hard drive full. You tried to write some stuff to a WebDev server, disk is full. I don't know why I got a Turbo Pascal dialogue. That's pretty awesome.
Loop detected WebDev. The server has detected an infinite loop while processing the request. It was really difficult to not find something related to Apple when doing searches for infinite loop.
509, bandwidth limit exceeded. What are you doing? This will get sent when your web server tells you that you have now exceeded all your bandwidth. You're probably downloading illegal files.
Almost always. 510, not extended. Further extensions to the request are required for the server to fulfill it. The best I can figure is like this is the server saying, we need more information.
Where it needs a specific extension to fulfill the request, like if you made a WebDev request to a server that did not know what WebDev is, it would give you a 510.
Come on, sign in. Jeez.
And 511, I believe, is specifically a certificate. 598, network read timeout. Essentially, you made the request, and the server attempted to get the information, but it was able to send the request, but it never heard back. You're going to get a 598. The graphic here shows high rates of packet loss. Does this guy work for you? Yeah. Network connect timeout. Cables unplugged. Squirrels loose in the data center. Bad things.
There we are. There's it's a Flickr album for the status caps.
Yeah, and I would say that the Wikipedia page is probably one of the better ones. That HTTP statuses one, that was making all the rounds because it's got a really cool URL. But it actually has a lot of wrong information on it because I used it for part of the slides and had to redo all of them. So I would stick to the list of HTTP status codes. And of course, the authority is really the W3C, but their stuff is nearly unreadable and impenetrable. It all looks like that who's on first slide. So with that, we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.